This is True News. I'm Rick Wiles. The New York Times asked today this question: is Trump Bibi's chump? I think a more appropriate question would be, is Trump the chump of the Jewish mafia? Accordingly, you could answer yes to both questions. Evangelical Zionists have repeatedly told President Trump that he is a reincarnated King Cyrus. The Zionists used the same line on President Harry Truman, a Freemason, in 1948 to persuade the Missouri Democrat to recognize the independence of the Zionist state. So far, Mr. Trump has given the Zionists almost everything on their shopping list short of nuking Iran. Donald Trump, who they say is King Cyrus, decreed that Jerusalem is the eternal capital of Israel. He also decreed that the Golan Heights rightfully belongs to Israel, not Syria. Days ago, Donald Trump, who they say is King Cyrus, told the Palestinians to accept his chump change or take a walk. President Donald Trump has another pre-election gift for the indicted handler, Bibi Netanyahu. It appears that President Trump will release Jonathan Pollard, the Jewish traitor to America, and allow him to leave the USA and live in Israel with his soulmates. Jonathan Pollard is the worst traitor and spy in the history of the United States of America. The damage he inflicted on American national security is too great to summarize in a short statement in this news program. Pollard's treasonous actions compromised 4 major U.S. intelligence systems. Pollard was paid by the state of Israel for his spying against America. He was convicted of espionage on behalf of Israel in 1987, given a 30-year prison sentence. Prominent American politicians, however, lobbied for a reduction in his prison sentence. On November 8, 2010, 39 members of Congress submitted a plea of clemency to President Obama, asking for his immediate release from prison. The list of spineless, compromised American politicians who worked for Pollard's release is too long to name in this program. As expected, it's the who's who of Washington. The American Israeli dual citizen Pollard was released from federal prison on parole on November 20, 2015, under strict conditions. Zionist activists inside America continued to lobby for his full release. According to news reports in Israel, Mr. Trump will issue some form of presidential pardon that allows the Jewish traitor to run home to Israel. Once again, we see glaring evidence of foreign collusion in America's government, but it's not the Russians who are colluding with Donald Trump. It's the Israelis. With the impeachment trial still underway in the U.S. Senate, you would think that in normal times, a recording of foreign agents telling the President of the United States that Jewish Kabbalah wizards discovered his name is linked to the Savior of the world would be front page headlines in every newspaper. Not so in Zionized USA, where the news media is tightly controlled. Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, the 2 of the Jewish players in the Trump impeachment trial, secretly recorded a private conversation with President Trump at a campaign fundraising event in Washington. They incredulously informed Mr. Trump that Jewish Kabbalah wizards discovered his name in gematria, which is Jewish numerology. Now, a True News fan in Australia found a video of a rabbi boasting about Mr. Trump's name in gematria, and he posted it on YouTube. I'm going to share it with you in just a moment. Doc Burkhart is away today and tomorrow for educational studies to complete his doctorate degree. Edward Szall is here and eager to jump in this discussion. Hey, Edward, I guess when Doc receives his doctorate degree, we have to call him Dr. Doc.
I was just thinking about that. It's now official. He is Doc. Well, Rick, what you brought up in your open is so poignant. I didn't think about this when you first played the clip. And again, there's a second recording that's out now, Rick. ᴛᴜ and ᴛɪᴜ, this wasn't a one-off attempt at basically recording the President of the United States against his will. He never gave them permission to do so. And obviously, ᴛᴜ is now using this to fight against the President. But what I think about this today is that ᴛɪū and ᴛᴜ and others who've repeated this, they are cultivating President Trump as a spiritual asset, the same way a spy for a foreign intelligence agency would cultivate an individual in government as an asset of government, like Jonathan Pollard, for example. The case here is very interesting because often advisors and many in government will say that cultivation of assets is an issue because you are using ego, emotion, to force an individual to enact very important and long-reaching foreign policy, domestic policy.
You're saying the Israelis are cultivating Donald Trump as a spiritual asset?
Yes, and in this sense, a clandestine spy. And this is, if you look at this,
and how are they doing this? How are they doing it?
Because they're playing to him through spiritual advice that he is God, that he's the chosen one, that he has not just been chosen to become president, but maybe could carry on for however long he wants, because as a godlike figure, anything you do, it's excusable.
Edward, the news is getting so strange. I can't understand why this story is not all over the world, that there's a recording, and that the recording was used in the Senate impeachment trial.
That's right. It's a major part of the story. They're not covering it, Rick, intentionally. They don't know how to cover this story in one aspect, and second, they don't want to touch it because of what it stands for and means.
You have these Jewish foreign agents, ᴛᴜ and ᴛɪū, telling President Trump, "You're God, you're the Messiah, you're the Savior." Mr. Trump's saying, "How do you know?" Because the rabbis have found your name in gematria.
And it equals the Messiah.
Ask your son-in-law, Jared. He'll explain it to you. So does Mr. Trump go to his son-in-law and say, "Am I the Savior? Am I the Messiah?" "Yes, you're the Messiah." "How do you know?" "Well, it's in the numerology. It's in gematria." I mean, this is bizarre. It's wacko. And nobody is talking about this except TruNews.
And you're absolutely right. It's a dangerous ideology that has no place in the White House. It doesn't have any place in government to begin with. But is Jared Kushner, I guess, adding another title to his long list? He's building a wall. He's doing a peace plan. Now he's the spiritual advisor to the President of the United States.
So they're working Donald Trump from the inside, playing on his ego, and feeding this line to him that he's the Messiah, because Jewish rabbis have discovered it in mystical gematria writings. In the Bible, it's literally the Bible codes, what they call the Bible codes. And the Bible codes, stay away from them. It's gematria. Look, in my early years in this ministry, I was fascinated by the Bible codes. I had a number of guests and people that I knew. I look back now and I realize they were all Zionists. They were into the Bible codes. I didn't know it was gematria, and they were showing me things and I was given the software that came from Israel, and they said, "Hey, Rick, here's the
you plug
software.
in a name, you put in a certain
phrase. You can do your own gematria." Well, they didn't say gematria. You can search the Bible, the Torah, and discover things. It wasn't until later, many years later, that I realized that that's numerology. That was divination. And I repented and asked God to forgive me that I was flirting with that stuff, not knowing. And that's why I'm trying to be patient with Christian Zionists that get very upset with me and say, "You're wrong about Christian Zionism. You're wrong about Kabbalah. You're wrong about gematria." No, I'm not. It's numerology. And sooner or later, you're going to open up your eyes and realize that you're practicing divination, and it's a sin. But these people are using this tactic to influence Donald Trump. Now, at the same time, you got the Kabbalah rabbis whispering in his right ear, "You're the Messiah, you're the Savior." In his left ear, the Christian Zionists are whispering, you are King Cyrus. King Cyrus has been reincarnated. He's you. King Cyrus has come back to life in the form of Donald Trump. So they're both working him. And he's being played like a fool. And both sides are feeding him lies to deceive him in order to change U.S. foreign policy.
And they're playing the United States people, the citizenry of this country, like a fool too. I'm trying to think of a historical reference for this. Is that it's as if we have hundreds of Rasputins that are hanging out in the Oval Office in the White House daily. Yes. When you think about Rasputin and the effect of the Tsar, he was a spiritual advisor, likely was involved in forms of divination and witchcraft, and it ultimately met his end through an uprising. You think about the effect on the regular person, maybe 10 years from now, maybe this year is election year. How do you feel, and speaking really to Christians in this country, how do you feel that the president had the chance to end abortion, but instead went after the entire shopping list of the Zionists?
As a Christian, I feel like we were betrayed. And the sad thing is that the so-called Christian Zionists, which I don't call them Christian Zionists, evangelical Zionists, that's as polite as I can be about it, they're really sellouts. They're promoting this agenda inside the White House. They're working for a foreign government. I mean, here we have now, Donald Trump is going to send to Israel the worst spy in the history of America. And Pollard is going to be released before the March 2nd Israeli election for one purpose, to get Netanyahu reelected.
Well, something scary you brought up in your intro is that the one thing that the Israelis haven't gotten yet, because they're getting Pollard. This has been an ask since the George W. Bush days. You know, the Israelis have been asking for this, and it was unconscionable.
Even Obama wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't even do it. President Obama, who really, for all intents and purposes, hated this country, his policies were the most anti-American we've had probably in 20 to 30 years. But look at this case. They couldn't get Jonathan Pollard. Pollard will likely be another chip that President Trump gives. But you noted in your intro that the one thing they haven't gotten yet is the war. And it makes you wonder, we were talking before the program, what is it? Israel can ask for anything at this point, anything they want, but to potentially continue this relationship. And maybe President Trump thinks if he doesn't maintain this relationship, he loses his evangelical base in this country. Well, if the Israelis were to approach him in that manner and say, well, if you don't go after Iran, that is also something akin to the embassy move that you will lose our support over.
You know, one of the things that the Antichrist will do is call down fire from the sky. What did Donald Trump do to General Soleimani?
He called down fire in the form of missiles in Baghdad International Airport.
Yes. Let's look at this YouTube video. Our friend in Australia, do we have that video?
Yes, we have that video, and the name would be Curtis Allen. I believe this man, he watches TruNews daily, and included actually part of our episode on the gematria for Lev Parnas.
I'm trying to remember Paula's brother. I'm sorry. You know.
Yes.
But he used part of our video, and then he also found a rabbi talking about Trump being the Messiah, but he gives a different twist to it. So which one is it here?
It's number 4.
All right, let's watch. This is number 4. Watch this. I want to thank our TruNews friend in Australia.
He's going to really be a tremendous president in the United States. Tremendous. Really equality, prosperity, and peace with law and order. He's going to stand up to all the nations of the world. He's going to side with Israel when he realizes that they cannot make peace with Israel, as I've said before, because it's theologically impossible. All the ideas I gave in the previous show and so on. That's the Tahar of America. You now understand what it is, okay? Specifically what it is. See? And that's why I believe, remember I said that the gematria of Donald Trump is gematria Mashiach ben David? You know what that means? Do you know what that means? That his name is a gematria? Of course, that doesn't mean he's Mashiach ben David. Let's forget that, right? That's out. You don't realize something. Somebody who will turn a nation completely diametrically opposite is a Messiah. For them, yes. He, I believe, is the Mashiach of Edom. Isn't that interesting? Because think about it. What does the Mashiach do? Right? He turns a nation, basically that's going awry. I mean, it's collapsing with the evil and the immorality. He turns it around. That's a Messiah. Especially if it's incredibly significant.
So ʻLeland-Jones is the man.
ʻLeland-Jones, and he's in Israel, not
Australia.
Sorry, brother. All right.
He's responsible, Rick, actually, in part to the video. Often the video we see of the Temple Mount and basically a lot of the Orthodox rituals that have come onto YouTube. This is the man who shoots that and records it and has made it basically available for us to see that they were doing rituals, for example, sacrifices once again at that location. As you heard in that clip, Rick, what that rabbi was saying is President Trump is a Messiah-like figure to the Goy, to those who are not Jewish. That was the word he used.
So he's saying he's not the Jewish Messiah, he's the Goyim Messiah.
Yes, we get a second-class Messiah, and in his mind, he said President Trump's going after all the immorality in this country.
He is?
Apparently, according to
Donald
that
Trump
rabbi.
is going after the immorality in America.
I think maybe the rabbi is thinking that the Iran nuclear deal is the immorality that we've been preaching against.
What immorality has Donald Trump tackled?
I can't think of something off the top of my head. I think he's ignored it.
He's one of the most immoral men have ever been in the White House.
Yeah, I think every speech he's given, he's either exaggerating or telling one of the lies
or using the Lord's name in vain.
That's right.
Cursing, using all kinds of foul language. Okay, Donald Trump is not turning America around morally. That's my big disappointment in him. He did not. Well, let me put it like, it wasn't Donald Trump's responsibility. It was the church's responsibility. Right. And the American church in America missed the responsibility. Instead, the evangelicals grabbed the opportunity to promote their pro-Zionist agenda. And they didn't care about abortion. They didn't care about anything else in this country. They just wanted to get their Israel agenda through. And they're going to pay for it someday. They're going to stand in front of God someday. They're going to be held accountable for what they did as the watchmen of this country. They had the opportunity to speak into the president's ear. Instead, they lied to him and they said, "You're King Cyrus." They lied. The preachers in this country lied to Donald Trump. They deceived him. They told him he's King Cyrus. And you got the Kabbalah rabbis whispering in the other ear, "You're the Messiah."
When you look at this example in this video, the way he described, again, President Trump essentially becoming a cult-like figure for the Christians in this country, Republicans, conservatives. You have to wonder then, going back to ʻLev-Parnas, is that how President Trump is being cultivated as an asset?
Yes.
They're cultivating him into a cult-like figure.
Yes, they are. Israel is working Trump's ego. And they're getting everything on their shopping list. I can only imagine what the second term's going to be.
I fear for that second term, if it's what they want, is what they want essentially is a war. I mean, that's what they've said here, is that Iran, it's become a topic once again, that Iran's destabilizing activity. We got the peace plan out now, so we can discuss again the destabilizing activity that was occurring during Christmas. They're saying it has to be confronted. And that's not just the Israelis, not Benjamin Netanyahu saying this, but our own Secretary of State is addressing it in this manner with other Western allies.
Yeah, Edward, a number of our viewers, they were upset with me when I said the other night about the peace plan. I said, the Palestinians should just basically roll over and accept it, as disgusting as that is. I don't like that.
Right.
All right. All of us in our personal lives, in relationships, in business, and family matters, whatever, we have situations, and we come to the place where we've held out and hoped, and we've just gone the extra mile for years, hoping that a situation was going to change, turn around, and you come to the place you realize it's not going to change. It's not going to get better.
We've got to cut your losses.
We've all had those situations in our lives. It's painful, and you have to make that decision. I just have I just have to let it go. I just got to move on with my life. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you do. We all have that in our life. That's where the Palestinians are at. And that's, so I'm not, you know, I know people got upset with me, but honestly, I'm tired of seeing the Palestinians mistreated. They're not going to get a better deal than this. If you think so, tell me who has denounced Jared Kushner's plan since they released it several days ago? Where's the opposition?
It's non-existent. There's been
none.
There's been minor criticism of Turkey. President Erdogan came out, this is unacceptable. Even Saudi Arabia, there's parts of this we maybe don't approve of, though we know behind the scenes they're in great approval. Russia, we think the Palestinians should have a say in this. None of them are saying we're calling for the Palestinians to reject it. Right. There is no opposition against this. And to your point, Rick, it's not so much that we're pro-Trump deal of the century peace plan. We're anti-massacre.
Right.
Because ultimately, the steal of the century, if they don't take this. And again, the funniest thing about this, Rick, is that there really isn't even a plan in front of them right now. This is a plan maybe 4 years from now.
Yeah, it's disgusting when you see the arrogance, the smirky grins on their faces, that they've won, they've crushed the Palestinians. Well, listen, this is what Netanyahu and Kushner and Friedman and that whole gang, this is what they're saying to the Palestinians. Okay, we've stolen enough of your land for right now. We're agreeing that we're not going to shoot any more of your teenage boys in the head. We're agreeing that we're not going to take any more of your land for 4 years. We're going to hold off the carnage and we're going to hold off the bulldozers for 4 years. We're going to make the terms of acceptance so difficult. Most likely you won't be able to meet those terms. And then at the end of the 4 years, we'll just take it all. That's really the plan. That's the plan. And it's sad, it's despicable. I look at these people on TV and I just want to vomit. All right, they're going to stand in front of God someday and give an account for what they did to the Palestinian people. But the Palestinian people need to realize nobody's coming to their defense.
There is no grand army. There's no nation.
The Arabs have betrayed them. Here in America, the evangelical Christians deserted you. They're on the side of the people who stole your land. All right? I don't know what to do for you. I've done everything I can, and I'm paying a price for it. I have paid a very steep price over these last 3 years for opposing the Zionists and what they're doing to the Palestinians. I paid a price. So the Palestinians, it's just like we've pointed out before, the American Indians. All right, there comes a place where, like, do you keep fighting, trying to hold on to what little bit of land you have?
Do you fight to extinction
when the opposition has superior force? Okay, there's nobody coming to the aid of the Palestinians. Nobody has spoken up. Nobody has denounced. The silence says it all. The Arabs have turned and looked the other way. And even in Jordan, I noticed today, the IMF gave Jordan a $1.3 billion financial infusion today.
Something they've been holding out on a little bit. Jordan's been asking this for a couple months now.
So the money showed up today. Hey, King Abdullah, don't get too upset. Don't get too upset. Here's a $1.3 billion, and he needs the money. Now, Jordan needs the money. They got 2 million Palestinian refugees in their country that they're feeding.
Yeah, it's a financial crisis. I've been that way for about 5 years in
so
Jordan.
Netanyahu and that gang, they're just puffed up with pride and arrogance, and they know that they've crushed the Palestinians. And these are surrender terms. That's what it is. They've offered terms of surrender. Take these terms of surrender, or else. We'll give you 4 years to implement the terms of surrender. Now, there's no recognition of a Palestinian state for 4 years.
But the Israelis are allowed to start enforcing their law over this territory.
Yes. They're going to start annexing everything like this weekend. The Knesset starts voting this weekend to annex more territory.
And part of this article, they really did trump President Trump in that regard, because Jared Kushner promised that this wouldn't necessarily happen, that there would be a pause. The Israelis would seek maybe the peaceful resolution in this and not further aggravate or potentially cause a third intifada.
I'm reading the Times of Israel. U.S. envoy, meaning David Friedman, hardcore Zionist, and he was Trump's bankruptcy lawyer. That's how he got this job. Donald Trump's always been in the pocket of Jewish lawyers, businessmen.
Funding for Israel state projects.
Mafia, the whole thing. Yeah, the whole thing. His whole life has been that way. U.S. envoy tells Jewish leaders Palestinian state won't happen in the near future. But in the article, he said, Friedman told reporters that Israel would be free to annex the West Bank settlements immediately.
Yes.
Right? So there's no Palestinian state now, but Israel, go ahead, start annexing. You can do that. See, it's so lopsided. It's so unfair, so unbalanced.
It's unjust.
It is an unjust agreement, and there's nobody opposing Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu.
The only thing we could say to them is what we did say, is that find your justice through the Lord. You know, nothing a man, nothing a country can do to oppose this very evil bloc. And you pointed this out the day of the peace plan, that the evangelicals, it was interesting that they either required or supported of this because it was a two-state, it was presented at least as a two-state solution. This meeting that David Friedman attended after the announcement, that was actually a meeting to appease some of those leaders who had that concern. Reportedly, there were 20 Jewish and evangelical leaders who were there for this off-the-record briefing.
And the evangelicals who were in the meeting with Friedman, Tony Perkins, Family Research Council, Johnny Moore, Southern Baptist leader, Faith and Freedom Coalition Chief Ralph Reed, and First Dallas Baptist Church Pastor Bob Jeffers. So there again, there's the evangelical Zionists inside the meetings with the Trump administration, working for Israel, not for God's kingdom, working for Israel, being agents of a foreign government. Every one of those names that we just read, they should be forced to register with the U.S. government, with the State Department, as agents of a foreign government. They're all working as lobbyists for a foreign government. But none of them are speaking up saying, but wait, Ambassador Friedman, many of those Palestinians are Christians. We need to make sure they're taken care of. And they're not saying it. They don't care.
It's not part of their mission, right?
They don't care at all.
It's not part of their mission. And I think back to that meeting that you got to attend with some of these individuals that you read off there in attendance in New York. They didn't care about the Johnson Amendment. I'm starting to really think that maybe they're really happy with having a certain governmental classification over their organization, so maybe they can operate in some of the capacities which we suspect they're doing on behalf of Israel.
They still have to register as foreign agents. Hey, the Washington Post had an interesting headline: Christian Zionist philo-Semitism is driving Trump's Israel policy. I've never heard this before, philo-Semitism.
So philo-Semitism, philo meaning love,
right.
It essentially is, as painted in this article, the polar opposite of anti-Semitism or hating Jews. And the definitions they're putting here are very extreme, but that's their dichotomy. They're trying to make the argument that philo-Semitism is the new title that we put, for example, whenever you're attacking.
I get it.
Jews,
so they're going to label me anti-Semitic and John Hagee as philo-Semitic.
Philo-Semitic.
Oh, I see how
they
that
love
works.
creating new words and reinventing it. What was unique about this article, Rick, and again, we're quoting directly from the Washington Post, okay? Let me make this very clear here. The author of this op-ed made the argument that even philo-Semitism is anti-Semitic. That shows you how far this thought control, this war of words has gone. To say you love the Jewish people, Rick, the author in this article made the argument that you are othering Jews.
I don't know what that means.
It means to separate them from the public. If you say you love the Jewish people, you are putting them aside. You're ostracizing them. And that in itself is a form of anti-Semitism. I don't know how crazy this will get. This is sounding pretty crazy at this point because he's saying John Hagee's an anti-Semite.
They're obsessed with this stuff. Total obsession with this topic. It's narcissistic. It really is. Somebody that wasn't philo-Semitic today was Vladimir Putin, because he had a Russian Jewish billionaire who happens to be the vice chairman of the World Zionist Congress. Putin had him put on a wanted list of criminals.
Yeah, for the article which was cited as Part 4 of Article 160 in the Russian Criminal Code is specifically in relation to misappropriation and embezzlement, basic corruption in this case. The man in question is number 7 for control. This billionaire is named Boris Mintz. That he's done very well in Russia. His two sons were also named by the prosecutor in this case, Alexander and Dmitry.
Yeah, he's one of the oligarchs who grabbed state assets after the Soviet Union fell. The oligarchs in Russia, by and large, are Jewish billionaires who grabbed everything. And when the state assets were privatized, and they grabbed oil and gas and defense and minerals and mining and manufacturing. He's one of them. And but the Russian government is seeking to arrest Boris Mintz.
They put him on an international wanted list.
Now, why this is important, let's put his picture back up there again. Boris Mintz is the vice chairman of the World Jewish Congress. I said Zionist Congress, the World Jewish Congress. That's him right there. He's the vice president of the World Jewish Congress.
Oh, do you remember?
And he's now a wanted criminal in the eyes of the Russian government. And in the World Jewish Congress, I'm reading from their bio of him. It talks about his devotion to the Babylonian Talmud.
Yes, he's been working to have the Talmud published in Russian language, has donated quite a lot of money to a specific organization through Rabbi Pinchas Goldenschmidt with the Jewish Education and Publishing Trust in Russia. Now, he said, the profile rather said, the Babylonian Talmud is the cornerstone of Orthodox Judaism. Rick, from my understanding, the Babylonian Talmud is also the book we've cited in this program that claims our Lord and Savior is boiling in excrement in hell.
Yes. It's very anti-Christian.
They claim Adam was involved in bestiality. There's all kinds of nasty things in this reportedly holy book.
The main thing here is that the Russian government has put out an arrest warrant for the vice president of the World Jewish Congress, claiming that he is a criminal, and they want him brought back to Russia to stand trial. See, Vladimir Putin knows a lot more than what people realize about the balance of power in the world. And now this next story, folks, okay, so we're talking to you about President Trump is being told.
Strongmen.
Yeah, President Trump's being told he's the Messiah, he's the Savior. This next story from Reuters, Supreme Ruler Putin, Kremlin non-committal on proposed new job description. Do you remember a week or two ago we told you that the Russian government, the entire government, the cabinet resigned in one day, and that Vladimir Putin was involved in a major constitutional revision of the federal government of the Russian Federation. So this story, can we have anything to put up on the screen? Do we have a? I
don't think we have
it. Okay. So the Kremlin said on Wednesday that President Vladimir Putin had no view on a proposal that would see his job description changed to Supreme Ruler.
You said that correct. Supreme ruler, as if he has now become a leader basically in Iran or basically a country that has an absolute dictator or president in name only. It's a czar. I mean, it's something we spoke about in that program, strongmen. This is a leader for life. You're not called supreme leader, supreme ruler, and then you leave 4 years later. This is a position, if he were to take this,
he's going to stay there for life. Donald Trump is saying he's going to stay forever. Xi Jinping is staying forever. Duterte in the Philippines is staying forever.
The president of Turkey, too, and Egypt, Al-Sisi.
We're going into an age of strong men in the world who are calling themselves by the most extreme titles. I mean, we used to think about the North Korean leaders, Kim Jong-un and his father and grandfather, that they had these titles, that they were gods.
Cartoonish almost.
Yeah, they were gods, and the people had to recognize them as a god. We're moving into this stage in America. If Trump says he's a god, don't rule this out.
I don't.
Don't
I think it's
rule this out that after the
happen.
election, Trump verbally declares himself to be God.
The cult, the QAnon being part of this has gone mainstreamed. If this is the case, and Rick, you think a sub-product of this is that participation in government by individuals like you and me, the average citizens of the country, under these systems, it's almost eliminated. I mean, how are you going to challenge something the supreme ruler has done or the leader for life? There is no longer a representative government. A core aspect of Western society is gone.
It's bizarre, folks. This is really happening. The President of the United States is being told he's the Messiah. The President of Russia is being told you're really the supreme ruler. So the supreme ruler is going to be challenging the Messiah. All right, this is, I don't know.
Showdown of
can this get
biblical proportions almost.
Can this get any stranger? Yeah, it can. It can, because when Trump calls himself God, there will be people in America that will worship him as a God. I'm not ruling this out. You know, people, a year or two ago, when we would bring this up about Donald Trump making these references, and the Trump supporters would get very mad and say, Rick, he's just trolling. This is a joke. Don't take this seriously. Now I'm taking it very seriously. We just played earlier a recording, right? Two Jewish handlers, ᴛʀᴜ and ᴛʀᴜᴜ, telling Donald Trump, you are the Messiah. The rabbis have found your name in the Torah. You're in the Bible codes. Gematria, numerology, it's there. You're the Messiah. This is bizarre. So don't rule out the possibility that after this election, if there is an election, that Donald Trump declares himself to be a Messiah.
He's already starting to declare territory as if, he can do this as a dictator of the world. I'm talking specifically about the Golan Heights, the Jordan Valley decision. The Israelis
would Mike Evans agree that he is the Messiah?
In that article, he had to preface it.
Would Bob Jeffers agree that Trump is the Messiah?
If they want to give their soul away. I think.
But realistically, if Trump came out next year and said, I am the Messiah according to the Torah, the Bible codes, the gematria, the rabbis if a group of rabbis proclaimed Trump a Messiah, would the evangelical Zionists like Michael Brown bow to him and accept him as a Messiah?
I hope they don't, but they've been silent to this point.
Yes,
this isn't anything
they're totally
new.
silent.
We've covered this since the beginning of this presidency.
No, they're not silent. They're attacking me.
Yes, they're attacking those who are even bringing it up.
Yes.
So I would argue that's tacit approval in that sense. They're not going after the arsonist. They're going after basically the support of the house on fire.
Listen, we didn't share with our TruNews audience, we did not share with you the barrage of attacks and abuse that were directed at us last week in Davos. I mean, just us going to Davos to the World Economic Forum, it set off
fireworks.
Fireworks in the news media, in the Congress. They're like, no, TruNews is not permitted to go anywhere. They have to be contained. They're worse than coronavirus. They have to be contained. And every day in Davos, we were hit with accusations and
hit pieces
coming out and tweets and everybody trying to get a piece of our hide. Everett, I think you put together some of the stories. I know just today I saw, here it is, number 9. Number 9, this is a Jewish news syndicate. Look at this. Look at those 3 rascals there.
How dare they report on the works in Davos?
Suspicious, don't they? Look at this. U.S. senators seek answers to Davos press credentials given to anti-Semitic broadcaster.
They're talking about Jackie Rosen, a Democratic senator out of Nevada, and Ron Wyden out of Oregon. And these individuals
they're both Jewish senators. Senator Rosen and Senator Wyden are both Jewish.
Yeah, those 2 senators, I've heard an absolute dearth of comments on regard to the gulags column from Sanders' campaign. I've heard absolutely nothing from these individuals in regard to the actual, let's say, attacks against this.
I'll read from the Jewish News Service. Senators are seeking answers regarding the Trump administration's granting press credentials to anti-Semitic conspiracy broadcaster Rick Wiles and his outlet TruNews to cover the World Economic Forum last week in Davos. In a letter to acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney, Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada and Ron Wyden of Oregon wrote that if Wiles and TruNews were actually granted press access to cover Davos, it raises serious questions about the White House credentialing process.
Why?
Why? Why does it?
Did anyone
I don't have a right to express my views. Our coverage of Davos was professional. It was fair. It was informative. It was respectful. We got some very good interviews. We didn't attack anybody. I think our coverage was more in depth than anything that these news networks were putting out. Most of those. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. Most of those, folks, if you'd go behind the scenes at these events, most of these news reporters are drunks. They're alcoholics. It's sad. They're alcoholics.
Yeah, they need to be doing drug testing on this
They
press
spend most of their time boozing it. Then they get up in the daytime. They do a little bit of work.
2 to 3 minutes on camera. Maybe.
And then they're back in the bars. Okay, so they're after us. They're attacking us. We had a little altercation with Fox News. We ignored it. It was just getting on the bus. One Fox News employee made a rude comment to us. We ignore this kind of stuff
because we're there to report on the event. Our audience, have we told you about all the hit pieces? We'd have spent the entire show talking about the enemy's attacks.
They were trying to divert our attention. So now that we're back, we want to show you kind of a montage of some of the trash that was thrown at us by the Jewish-controlled news media that wants to stop us from expressing our views. Look, I have 3 constitutional rights at play here. I have the freedom of press. We're a news program right here. This is freedom of press. I have freedom of speech. I have a right as an American to express my views. And freedom of religion.
Yes.
I can express my religious beliefs also. I can worship God. These news Nazis are telling us, no, you don't. You don't have those rights in America anymore, and we're going to crush you. And there were evangelical Christian Zionist organizations like CBN that joined forces with Right Wing Watch and other very anti-Christian organizations to attack us. So we're getting it from all sides. What do we have here to show our audience some of the junk that they did to us?
It's the number 10 for control. So we start out obviously with the New York Times. So you actually gave an interview to the reporter from the New York Times, a media reporter. It's actually, I would say, of the fairest of them. It wasn't a nice article in any means, but it was not.
And he printed very little of what I actually said.
I wish the whole audience could hear the length of the conversation, specifically why TruNews is being attacked, specifically for Epstein coverage. You see there, that's the New York Times. Next, you've got Jake Tapper, one of the kings, the princes of news. Here he said the White House Correspondents Association, they don't make the credentialing. but they have confirmed to me that the White House has credentialed the Semitic TruNews, anti-Semitic TruNews. What's funny here is that same Jake Tapper and others at the White House Correspondents Association were crying crocodile tears for Mr. Acosta when he got his credentials taken away for breaking decorum. Okay.
He was rude and arrogant and disrespectful to the President of the United States.
That's absolutely
They demanded that his credentials be reinstated.
Yes, they wanted their prince, Jim Acosta, to get his credentials back. Next on the plate here is Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL. Of course, Mr. Greenblatt wanted to make a point here that how dare TruNews be able to cover a White House event, and their bigoted history.
Oh, look, he's got 3 slurs in there. I'm anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, and homophobic. All 3.
I'm going to say he just didn't put in there we're far left right wingers. All they do is slander us in here. They didn't talk 1 minute about our actual coverage.
Okay, so let's just talk about Jonathan Greenblatt. He works for ADL, Anti-Defamation League. That's a project of B'nai B'rith. B'nai B'rith is a Jewish Freemason lodge.
Oh, they hate it when
just
you bring that up.
Think about
right?
it. Every time you hear ADL, think Freemasonry, Jewish Freemasonry.
And also when you think of ADL, according to former Representative Pete McCloskey, B'nai B'rith, back in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, was working hand-in-hand with Mossad to monitor what they considered to be anti-Semitic activity in the country. I guess anything that's not philo-Semitic would have been spied upon. But Rick, I guess spying is normalized now, especially when it comes from
They were doing
ally.
that in the 70s. They have complete control now. They're crushing all alternative voices in this country. The Zionists are saying, we will control what can be said, what you can think, everything.
What you can do with your money.
Yes.
Deplatforming and debanking.
Yes. They want complete control of the public discourse. Now, there's an outfit called NewsGuard. Oh boy. So we got contacted. I received an email from NewsGuard on Monday. And this young lady, Melissa Golden. And she told me that NewsGuard had reached out to TruNews and we ignored them, and they went ahead and reviewed us and published their review.
Published it on a Monday. She reached out at 7:34 p.m. on the Sunday.
Yeah, so I went to our staff and I said, has NewsGuard tried to reach us? Did we ignore their phone calls, their emails? And as you just said, they sent an email on Sunday and then published the hit piece on Monday and said in their hit piece, we tried to reach TruNews, but they did not respond. Well, of course, because you sent it on a Sunday and you had the hit piece written before Sunday.
Their intent was never to get a response.
Of course not. This is the games that they played. So I had to do this little or post-review interview with Miss Golden. And just to give you an idea, all right, so I asked Edward, I said, hey, they've already hit us. Well, first of all, Edward, tell us what and who is NewsGuard?
So NewsGuard, it uses journalism, according to their mission statement, to fight false news. It's got a few major clients, one of them actually being Microsoft. A lot of people associated with Microsoft. The association is it's one of their major clients.
Well, Microsoft is putting NewsGuard into their browser.
Yes, and they've also have a whole entire brand around it. Election Guard is something that's also been launched in part with a partnership with Microsoft to help fight against interference in elections. This has become a brand.
Israeli interference? Will they fight Israeli interference in the American elections?
Only the interference they don't want. So maybe they'll leave that one alone since they could care less about interference.
Right, so NewsGuard is this browser it's an app that's being...
It's an add-on, basically.
It's an add-on into your browser, okay? And it will tell you that the news source that you're looking to is either not good or good.
They've got a rating system. They call it a nutritional chart.
It's like a social credit score for news organizations. Well, guess what? CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, they have 5-star ratings.
never have any blimp on the radar. Even ABC, the outlet that reportedly put up a Kentucky gun range firing and called it a Syrian gunfight.
Yeah.
You know, the funniest part about this, Rick, is that when challenged on this, because it was a very extensive call with Miss Golden, and she tried to present this matter that all she's trying to do is just get down to the facts. Well, we looked at how they'd already reviewed us.
Yeah.
Funny enough, they decided to cite quite a few of our programs, one of them being from Davos itself.
Hang on one second, because before we get to that, all right, so this is a printout of their review. Okay. So the moment I read the first line, I knew, okay, I know where this conversation is going to go. A news and commentary site owned by fundamentalist Christian pastor Rick Wiles that regularly publishes anti-Semitic and conspiracy theories. Okay. So that's the opening line. All right. TruNews is owned by Rick Wiles. No, it's not. So you're not factual, NewsGuard. It's not owned by me. This is a church. I don't own the church. TruNews is owned by Rick Wiles, a fundamentalist pastor who operates a congregation known as Flowing Streams in Vero Beach. Wiles has a history of publishing anti-Semitic and Islamophobic and other hateful commentary, according to the Anti-Defamation League. So their source
is the
ADL, which is Jewish Freemasonry.
Well, what's funny about that one, Rick, is that this rating system can go both ways. And I just, in addition to the other sources they have in this article, I decided to go check to see what NewsGuard has to say about the ADL. Well, Rick, it's never been checked. It's never been verified.
They've never verified the ADL. They've never verified Right Wing Watch. They've never verified any of these leftist organizations. She told us they're working on it.
They're working on it.
But you're quoting them against me.
Yes, and extensively. She almost said, solely, she said, Right Wing Watch was her source for how to review us.
You want to know one of the accusations they made against me? And I'm reading this. Wiles claimed that Jews crucified Jesus 2,000 years ago.
Oh, they could have read the Bible to see that one.
They're saying that is an unfactual statement. That I'm making this claim. That I guess I've made it up. The Jews crucified Jesus 2,000. And so this is in a report that any corporation, any library, any school, college, anybody researching that wants to say, well, can I rely on TruNews? They go and they read this and they go, oh my, this guy is crazy. Look at this. He's a fundamentalist. He's Islamophobic. He's homophobic. He's anti-Semitic. He said Jews crucified Jesus 2,000 years ago.
Rick, you're absolutely right. And it even goes further. It criminalizes the thought itself. It tells, again, a corporation, government, business, or any individual, if you were to think the same thing that Rick Wiles and TruNews and any Christian who's read the Bible believes, then you are also a deplorable, a degenerate, someone you can't associate with, someone who NewsGuard will say is an unreliable source for information and potentially access in society.
Yes. Now, they mentioned a couple of programs in this review. TruNews in Davos. Frail George Soros denounces President Trump and predicts revolutions and wars in 2020, in the 2020s. Tell me, what is unfactual about that headline?
And we asked her. She couldn't tell us.
She could not tell us. And we're saying, well, why are you citing this show? Then they went to kosher cover-up. U.S. ruling class hides Epstein child sex blackmail operation.
Again, silence from her. Well, I'm not here to discuss how we've done the review. Why are we having this call?
This is in the review.
That's correct.
Why are you citing these programs as evidence that we are not a trustworthy news organization?
Yeah, sure.
And I told her, I said, Melissa, you are an anti-Christian bigot. Did you hear me say it to her?
I heard you say that.
I said, you're a bigot. You're anti-Christian. And I laid it on, and eventually it got to the point, I just told her, I said, hey, who made you the news police? Do you get to wear a badge? I mean, your company, NewsGuard, did they give you a news cop badge? You get to wear it every day in your office? You know, I don't know when you went to school, but back when I was in elementary school,
You had uniforms.
Well, no, we didn't have uniforms, but you looked up to the sixth graders because every month somebody got chosen out of the sixth grade class to be a patrolman.
Like a hall monitor.
Yeah, so they got to wear this sash with a badge, okay? And you could boss the other kids around, okay? So I was wondering, does she have a patrolman badge? Does she get to, she's telling me, you don't have the right to report the news. You don't have the right to analyze the news. And I confronted her on that. I said, this is what you're telling me, Miss Golden, that I don't have a constitutional right to express my opinions about the news, and I have to get your approval.
And she kept going back to this video about Hillary Clinton and creating a fun camp. She couldn't answer basic questions about if they'd actually looked at the stories that we cited in the program. Like we did today, we cite reputable outlets according to NewsGuard, New York Times, Washington
She admitted
Post.
the only video she has seen of us came from Right Wing Watch.
Yes, an organization they haven't even vetted.
Which is a Jewish-funded organization that smears Christian pastors. It's the only purpose for Right Wing Watch.
People of the American way. Really, she called it people of the un-American way.
That's the only purpose of that organization, to smear Christian pastors.
And put targets on our back.
Yes.
I mean, think about this. How many death threats have come from those?
Twice in the past 2 weeks, Indian River County Sheriff's deputies have been here because of death threats. Twice in the past 2 weeks. Generated by Right Wing Watch.
Who's hateful there? Are we putting up selectively edited videos causing death threats against those individuals? No. They're causing
They know
hate
what they're
against
doing.
us.
This is a communist revolution. And folks, they're after they knock off people like me, they're coming for you. All right? There will be not only will they rate and grade news organizations, they're going to do it to individuals.
Yes, they're going to rate your ability to be a parent. They're going to rate your ability to even maybe drive, have access to the best food in society. Look, this is just the surface of how bad this could become.
All right, so when little Miss Ivanka Trump gets her database of every employee and all their employment records, then employers will be able to go to a employer guard.
Rate the employee.
And read, oh, this potential employee is anti-Semitic, has white nationalist viewpoints. This is what they're going to do. Wake up and realize what's happening to your country. There's very little time left to stop the complete takeover. This is a takeover of the United States.
It's a coup.
You're being brought into slavery. You're being brought into captivity.
Bondage.
Yes. And it'll be 100 years before you can break out of this. You'll live out your life. Your kids will look what happened to the Russians. They went 70 years when the Jews took over Russia in 1917.
After the royal family in that country was killed in a blood sacrifice.
Yes. So it's happening to America right now, and we're tolerating it. By the way, I got an email today. I'm not going to say the name. Two very prominent Christian Zionists, well known, informed me that they're coming here next week to confront me.
Confront you?
Confront me. They're coming here to our church to confront me.
Not to discuss with you, not to address something?
The word confront was mentioned 3 times in the email. Didn't this sound like a wonderful meeting?
That sounds like an ambush.
If I told you the names, you'd recognize the names. And I'm like, I don't have time. You know, you're not going to come and waste my time confronting me. Confronting me about what? All right. Now, you're upset that I have challenged your delusions. All right. This Christian Zionism matrix has been built in the church.
An idol.
It's an idol. And I've spit on their idol. I've made fun of their idol. And they're furious. So they're coming here. I mean, they informed me. We're coming to your place to confront you.
The funniest part about this, Rick, is that I know this working here for almost 5 years I have there, is that your mind is on the kingdom. Even the show yesterday, we do this day in, day out, not for sharing, really tantalizing information with the public. No, it's for the salvation of souls. Who wrote to us and said, I've been an atheist. I was exposed to religion, for example, off of yesterday's program. From this, I want to know about your Jesus. That's what we're here for. Angels rejoice when that takes place.
And our audience, you need to know this. Every week, multiple atheists come to know Jesus Christ because of TruNews. Every week. It's happening week after week after week. It's become just a regular occurrence now. Atheists writing to us saying, I'm not an atheist anymore. I've come to Jesus Christ by watching TruNews. But the enemy is really upset with us. Satan's very, very upset. And it's, again, because we have dissed the idol of America, which is in the church, in the evangelical churches, I call it a two-headed goat god. It's the secret rapture in Israel, the state of Israel. It's a two-headed goat god. That's what they're worshiping. But I've really come to the conclusion that most of these evangelical Zionist pastors, if I could get to the bottom of it, I think I could find out they're Freemasons. Because the whole Zionist movement is Freemasonry. So I'm just assuming that these hardcore evangelical Zionist pastors are Freemasons. I can't prove it, but it's just my suspicion. That's what's driving it. So they're very, very upset that TruNews continues to grow. They keep throwing buckets of garbage on us, and they're pouring,
vitriol and hatred from the depths of their hearts.
They just keep throwing it at us, Edward, and we don't stop. We keep going. They try to hurt us financially. They try to get us deplatformed. By the way, Apple. We were notified by Apple. We had to take down 4 programs. 4 episodes off of Apple, our app, our phone app. They were going to deplatform. Guess what all 4 programs were about? Epstein, and they were all Israel related.
One of them specifically, the Strongman program.
Yes.
One of them. That is being proven true right now, even today as we report. There are leaders in this world who are trying to extend their rule for life.
Hey, let me tell you what's going on. Back during the Christmas holidays, I read an article in one of the Israeli papers, and they mentioned there was an Israeli government official who said, we have a unit inside, and I want to say in military intelligence, that is searching 24/7 for anti-Israel comments and social media anywhere in the world. Think about it. Israeli military intelligence unit scouring the internet, social media, for any comment that's anti-Israel.
Philo-Semitic attack dogs looking for individuals who are thinking wrongly. So
they said, when we find media content that criticizes Israel, we have a network, and I don't have the article in front of me. It was either 18,000 or 22,000 Jews in America who go to work immediately bombarding the media platforms. So it would be Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So they've got this hardcore network of Jews in America who then bombard the platform saying, take it down, take it down, take it down. That's how they're doing it. And it's all being directed out of Israel. Do you understand what I'm saying, folks? A foreign country is robbing you of your constitutional rights in the United States of America. It's coming out of Israel. They're directing the attack on your free speech, and it's coming out of Israel. And you think Donald Trump's going to defend you? He's in their pocket. He's part of it. We have no one in this country to defend us. Our only defense is the Lord Jesus Christ. But this thing's being run out of Israel to crush freedom of speech in America. Did you see the story? I didn't bring it out. Another one. They've Judaized the Quran.
Oh, yes, I did read this.
Saudi Arabia. They've published in Saudi Arabia a Quran that was Judaized.
Sanitized of hateful speech inside there. That's exactly what they're going to do to the Bible.
Going to do it to the Christian Bible.
Yeah, Rabbi Shmuley, the man that a certain Christian Zionist has debated often, he brought up this subject of editing the New Testament.
Yes.
Editing statements in the New Testament that are not philo-Semitic enough. Statements he claims are leading to attacks on Jews throughout the country. You know, Rick, what you just brought up about the targeted harassment, again, coming from a foreign country. Would we put up with this if there was a farm of 10,000 Russians who are, and isn't this part of this whole narrative of Russian collusion, that there are Russians who are interfering in our election through bots on the internet?
Yes.
But we wouldn't put up with it.
No.
I remember.
So what if the Chinese was running an operation pressuring Apple and Twitter and Facebook to take down any American social media post that criticize the Communist Party of China?
There would be a bipartisan coalition, probably with evangelicals backing it, calling for sanctions and possibly drone strikes on server farms in China. That's no exaggeration to the level of zealotry that's involved in this. But Rick, you remember the end of the election? Remember the organized initiative? We actually called some of the Electoral College delegates. Remember the organized initiative that was taken? We had Excel sheets of all the contact information, the kids, the names of individuals who were part of the Electoral College. A leftist group, maybe numbering in the thousands, inside this country, was engaged in targeted harassment, calls
Members
to everything.
of the Electoral College.
Electoral College, yes.
Yeah, to harass.
What you just named here is 10 times the size of that.
By the way, Edward and Doc were in the call with NewsGuard.
Yes, yes.
They wanted our donor.
Yes, they did.
I kid you not.
We gasped.
She asked, why aren't your donors' names public? I said, because it's none of your business. Because you would go after them. That's why.
They absolutely would go after them.
That's what they're after. They want to know who's behind these organizations. How can we crush them?
But Rick, that's just an alternative fact. That's just another view of the facts. I said this because that's something she also brought up. Remember that moment in the call? She said there are other sets of facts. That's one way of looking at it. Our way, that's your opinion. There are other facts that we look at.
She said there are other versions of facts.
What in the world? No, there's only one truth, okay?
What do we know about Little Miss Golden, Melissa?
Well, Melissa Golden, and again, we do this because you so thoroughly looked into us. Miss Golden is a reporter and analyst for NewsGuard Tech. She's a former writer for Mashable. Mashable is one of the websites that took time out of their day to hit a hit piece at us rather than covering Davos last week. She worked for NPR's WXSI News. Well, interesting enough from Mrs. Golden, I'd love to hear the reason for this. The Twitter account she used when she was working at Mashable, MGOLDIN8, that has been suspended. If you try
Twitter suspended her account? So she got censored?
She got censored, unless, for whatever reason, I could imagine here, the account was shut down, but it says suspended, and ironically, right under that, it says Twitter suspends accounts which violate the Twitter rules. How
Melissa Golden over there at NewsGuard, tell us why Twitter suspended your account. We'd like to know. Did you say something hateful?
Did you do something that the news censors at Twitter didn't like? Honestly, it seems like you should be in our camp of not wanting censorship.
And I told her, I said, you're the news Nazis. I said, are you going to bring a little swastika over to our church? Do we have to put a swastika on our church to show you, the news Nazis, that we're going to be good goyim? I said it to them. I didn't take any of this garbage from them. I threw it back at them. Because I said, you're calling me to intimidate me. This is about intimidation. You're telling me we are the news Nazis. We are the great Oz, and we have the power to review you and put a label on you. That's what she was saying to us.
Absolutely. We don't answer to NewsGuard or any of these news censors, government organizations, or authoritarians. We answer to the King of Kings.
It's owned by two Jewish businessmen. I say no more. It's part of the Jewish offense to crush free speech in America. Elizabeth Warren, this is the last story before we wrap it up. Elizabeth Warren yesterday proposed criminal penalties for spreading disinformation online.
criminal penalties.
Yes.
So if you spread what someone has already predefined as disinformation or false information, you could be penalized civilly and maybe put in jail. I mean, criminal means put in jail. You're going to be treated as someone who's like a shoplifter, a murderer potentially.
She said, I will push for new laws that impose tough civil and criminal penalties for knowingly disseminating this kind of information, which has explicit purpose of undermining the basic right to vote. Okay, does that mean, like if we shared the emails that WikiLeaks released?
Showing the undermining of the democratic process inside the picking of the candidate for the Democratic Party? Yes, I think that would be part of this, wouldn't it?
Or that Hillary Clinton had the debate questions before the debate?
Yeah, thank you, Donna Brazile and Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Will we be charged with criminal disinformation?
If the news gods dictate so. And Rick, I noticed on Twitter, they have a new option on Twitter, because all the social media platforms, other than the Facebook, have essentially caved to this. There's a new option. You can flag a tweet with the report that it is spreading misinformation about the electoral process, about the election itself. Rick, what this come down to is that they no longer can win in the public forum. Not that they really ever were winning, but they can no longer win. So they are going to literally limit and stop, censor, potentially completely silence anyone who comes against them. They're going to stop any opposing voice from challenging their ridiculous, false narrative.
This is troubling, what we're putting up with right now. This is, I'm just reading Melissa Golden's NewsGuard email. My name is Melissa Golden. I'm a reporter at NewsGuard, a news service that reviews news and information sites for credibility and transparency. All right. I'm working on a review of TruNews. Now, you lied. You'd already written it.
And she noted her editors actually had the control. She's not even writing it.
Yeah.
Right-Wing Watch essentially wrote it. Yeah. If you're going to be honest there, Melissa, you sourced them. That your outlet hasn't even.
Hey, I'm going to close this program with some scriptures, and we'll go to number 18 as the first one. And so these are quotes from Jesus. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Number 19, this is Luke 6:22. Jesus said, blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake.
This speaks right to it.
Jesus said, you're blessed when they hate you, when they separate you from the company of others, divide you, keep you away from others. They reproach you. That means they smear your name, and they cast your name as evil. What am I right now? I'm blessed. Amen. I'm blessed because Right-Wing Watch and all these other ADL, they're smearing me, they're hating me, they're lying about me. And Jesus Christ says, I'm blessed. Number 20, this is Matthew 5:11. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake.
This is a message to the entire body of Christ.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. That's why I'm not angry. I'm blessed.
Because they really want to attack Jesus. They're attacking Jesus through us.
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. They hate me because they hated him first. But Jesus said, when you are reviled and lied about and ostracized, when all manner of evil said about you because of his name, you're blessed. And I'll close with Matthew 5:44. Jesus said, but I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. So, Edward, what this has done for me spiritually, I've got thick skin. I've been used to people taking pot shots at me. I've been, this is 22 years, okay? But the past year or two, it's been vicious. And this is the last couple of months, it's been really brutal. To be labeled a bigot, a hater, a monster, okay? But I have to keep telling myself, it's Jesus that they hate. And I'm blessed. And I am not going to fight with these people. I'm going to forgive them. And so spiritually, this has been a spiritual growth time for me, because every day, every time I'm shown, hey, did you see what CBN took a pot shot at us? CBN, David Brody. While we were at Davos, David Brody at CBN took a shot at us. All right? Every time. All right, yeah, it hurts. But I have to say, God, I forgive them. I forgive them. I'm not going to be angry. Lord, bless them. I'm not going to have that bitterness in me. These people are driven with hatred. And what they do is they project on you what they are guilty of.
That's absolutely what they do.
Okay, they're full of hatred, just like Melissa Golden. She is an anti-Christian bigot. And I told her that. They project on you what they're doing. But I'm not going to get that bitterness in me. Jesus said I'm blessed. Now, if I had my own way to be blessed, I wouldn't go through this process.
Sure.
All right?
But we have to endure to the end.
But the kingdom, if you're a citizen of the kingdom, you have to live according to the kingdom laws. And I am a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. I'm in the kingdom of heaven right now. I'm in.
As am I.
I am in the kingdom of heaven this very moment. And so I have to act according to the laws of the kingdom of heaven. And my Savior, my King, Jesus Christ, no king but Jesus, he said, you're going to be hated for my name's sake. They're going to say all kinds of evil things about you. Look what they said about Jesus. Look what the names that they called him.
Look what they're still saying about Jesus.
They're still calling him stuff. And Jesus said, if you get close to me, they're going to hate you. The closer you get to me, the more they hate you, the more they're going to revile you, the uglier things that they're going to say about you. And so, actually, this is a very encouraging sign, because he said, if you were in the world, they wouldn't hate you. All right? So the fact that they hate me is proof that I'm not in the world.
Hallelujah.
I'm getting closer to the Lord every day. And he said, I'm blessed. So I like being blessed. I'll take being blessed any day. But I do pray for the Lord to prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. I wish no harm or evil on my enemies. What I ask God to do is prepare a table, banquet, and make them stand there and watch me dine on the blessings of God. That is sweet revenge. Thank you so much for watching TruNews. Hey, reminder, you pay for this. Right? Have you noticed we didn't have any commercials? We didn't hustle anything. We just talked here for an hour and 18 minutes. We trust that our Heavenly Father will speak to His servants. If you're not a servant of the Lord, you're not obligated to donate, okay? As simple as that. So don't even think that we're pressuring you to donate. We want the servants of the Lord, men and women who are citizens of the kingdom of heaven.
Yes.
We're asking you to get behind us and support us. Thank you so much for watching. Everett and I will be back here tomorrow. Doc will return on Monday. God bless.
God bless you.